Today I have with me Tracy Sorrell. She is the author of this book, and this book. Let's see what Tracy has to say about books. Tracy, welcome to the Library of Congress.
Well, thank you, Meg, for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh my gosh, you are one of my favorite authors. So this is going to be just a delight to chat with you. One thing I ask all my authors when they come on this show is to book talk a book that really grabbed them by the heart. So what did you bring to book talk for me today?
Well, I brought Child of the Flower Song People, Luz Jimenez, Daughter of the Nahua, written by Gloria Amezcua, who won a Pura Belpré honor for this book, and of course, noted illustrator Duncan Tonatiuh, who also has won a Pura Belpré award for his art and his books, and then also the Seibert Medal. I love this book. So many books are needed to combat the erasure and invisibility of Indigenous people. And you see that because in K-12 curriculum, after about 1900, it's like, poof, gone, disappeared. I'm like, what? You know, Indigenous people are still here. And so this wonderful story is set in Mexico. South of Mexico City, it starts in Milpa Alta. Luz is a young girl growing up there with other Nahua, families. The Mexican Revolution comes along, her father is killed, and her family ends up relocating, her mother and sisters, and she ends up relocating to the Santa Anita neighborhood in Mexico City. What is on the outskirts then, now it's definitely part of the city, but she has this dream from childhood, right, to be able to teach her language. She grows up teaching her language, learning her cultural traditions, and that is not something, of course, that Indigenous people are expected to be doing. She's supposed to assimilate into the larger culture. Well, she wins a beauty contest in her neighborhood, and that leads her then to become a model for famous artists, photographers, Diego Rivera. So her image becomes the face of Mexican art in the early 20th century. She's on murals, she's in all these paintings, like I say, famous photography, and she gets then connected with one of the professors who teaches at university, and she does get to teach, and she teaches her language at a couple of universities in Mexico City, her traditions. I mean, it's just incredible, right, to have that visibility and not only for, Nahua people and her story, but also her just tenacity. I always, when I visit young people in schools, I say, you know what, there's many ways to get somewhere in the world, and she's a perfect example of that, right? Her childhood dream did not work in the way that many people would think of someone becoming a teacher, right? But she's an incredible person. And so I'm just delighted that Gloria and Duncan brought this book to our attention. And I love the art. And I want to show you, if you take the case cover, dust jacket off that you see on the hardcover.
Duncan!
Yes.
You have outdone yourself.
This is all the Nahuatl language that is coming out of Luz into the world, right? And here is Professor Orcasitas writing down her words. So much of what we have of the Nahuatl language at that time is because of her work with him.
So, traditionally, as you say, we have not had many stories from Cherokee or any Native people. And so my question for you is what is it that you hope your books bring, not only to all children, but not only to Native children, but also children who are not from Native backgrounds? What's your hope for your literature with them?
My hope is that it connects our humanity. That first and foremost, they see that we are all human and that we have the same hopes, dreams, challenges, setbacks as anyone else, But often what we find is our contributions, our mere existence isn't even represented, isn't even talked about, isn't even integrated into the larger, historical record, contemporary realities. And so regardless of the child's background, my hope is that we are growing a more informed, citizenry, right, of the world.
One thing I love about your work is that you ask the reader to look at something from a different perspective. So, for example, you have a novel in verse that I like very much, Mascot, which you co-wrote with Charles Waters, I think, where 8th grade students, if I'm not mistaken, are are responding to their school, this problematic school mascot. And then you have a picture book, I think called Being Home, which is about a little girl moving. And normally, I wrote a picture book about moving, and it has this sad sort of feeling like, oh, lost. But you come at it from a whole different way. So talk to me about that. Like, what is it about encouraging kids to see things through a different lens that appeals to you?
Because I think when I was younger and their age, right, especially upper elementary, I thought, wow, there's not just this or that. There's so many different ways of seeing things, and yet so many times the adults around me are like, no, this is right, this is wrong, and I'm like, there's lots of ways of navigating the world. And so in the books, I want to reflect to them those things that they're already seeing and experiencing, right? Because the people we write for, as you know, are extremely intelligent, and they're having lots of experiences.
What advice would you give teachers and parents and interested kids who are watching our show about if they want to read more literature by Native authors? What advice would you give?
I would say go to the American Indian Library Association's website. Every 2 years, they award books from board books to young adult novels in a variety of formats, like I say, all ages, and they have a youth literature awards program. And so you will get books from small Native-owned presses to the large multinational conglomerate trade publishers. And I love that there is such that range there. And so they look at what has been created by Native people, and really also how that's presented. That there isn't that use of stereotypes or a pan-Native, pan-Indigenous identity. That it is rooted in the people, and the work has been thoughtfully presented. So they're books that entertain, inform, inspire. I would definitely start there for sure.
Tracy, I'm so glad that you came to visit me in DC, and I'm thrilled with your work. Thank you for the book talk, and I'm going to be looking for you on the shelf.
I appreciate that. Wado, Meg.
Wado, Tracy.